I was asked to talk about what is the consequence of the election a few weeks ago in terms of, health and safety work, but, I sort of broadened that out. What is the consequences in terms of what we call CWA movement building work? What do we learn from that election a few weeks back? And how do we measure that election up against the kind of world we want to build? And again, lots of health and safety activists, probably most of you are sort of like the front line. You aim high, you have real dreams, you want to change the world you're in or the world as a whole. The average collective bargaining coverage in the U.S., including the public sector, is 12%. So that's 1 out of 8 workers has collective bargaining rights, 7 out of 8 don't. And the only so-called democracy, and it's stretching it in both cases, that's lower is Colombia. So that's out of about 100 different nations. We're at the bottom. And so the reason we talk here about building a movement for economic justice and democracy is the economic justice issues, the 4 key issues that we've been on for 6 years in terms of our political movement. We have some of our best activists here. Are those 4. Jobs, healthcare, retirement security, and bargaining and organizing rights. And so the real question is, how do we link these things together in a way that creates a narrative? We were talking about training here just a few minutes ago. As great as the training is that we all do, the different organizations we're from, we need a common narrative, right? Like a big tent over all of us. A common story about how we link together these economic justice issues, democracy issues, including rights on the job. 40 years of stagnant wages. So you see it march up from 462 to 731. Those are massive gains. Even if we raise the minimum wage, that doesn't change this. Workers across this country need to have the right, and we'll have to fight for it like we haven't since the 30s. Need to have the right to sit with their boss, make demands, and have some ability to win those demands. If that doesn't happen, this stagnation of wages, this gap, is going to get worse and worse and worse. This is the CEO pay. 1980, 42 times what a worker made. This is Fortune 500, big companies. 2011, 380 times. And if we don't build a fundamental movement for democracy, very similar to Arab Spring, if we don't build at that level, and it's scary, at that level in this country, we really are not going to get to any of the things on the other side of that wall. And what are these blocks? Money in politics, Citizens United was a scam, and anyone in any union who thinks we're going to raise enough money to compete with the billionaires is deluded. Broken Senate rules with Employee Free Choice Act. The House had passed it by a 60% margin. It never got discussed in the Senate, even though we had majority support for it. But that taught us that we had no hope in this democracy to ever restore at the federal level workers' rights. And we actually hit a new low on how the Senate operates yesterday. Mitch McConnell put a motion on the floor to raise the federal debt ceiling, and then he filibustered against it himself. No path to legalization for immigrants. Before 1925, there weren't any immigration laws in the United States. And I'm sure there's a lot of us here, not just me, that's when my family showed up here. And as I like to say, they weren't Nobel Prize winners. And the 4th issue, voter suppression, 30 states helped bring down the turnout in the last election by 11 million. November 6th was 11 million fewer people than in 2008. And right now in the United States, 70% of the electorate, this is without counting 10 million immigrants, is registered, and 30% is not. But that 30%, nearly all, is working class people. It's not the CEOs with 400 times the pay rate of the frontline worker. And we'll be putting together voter registration, voting rights, money in politics, broken Senate rules, and hopefully uniting together. And this is labor and Greens and civil rights and students and faith-based groups and democracy groups. And hopefully, gradually here in the next few months, we will see emerge this kind of massive democracy movement that we will need, not just at the ballot box, but in the streets. And then we link that together. Why do that work with those economic justice issues and with the issues that inspire all of you? We are in a fundamental impasse here in this country in terms of the rights of regular folk, the 99%. What do we do when we're under attack? We stand up, we fight back. What do we do when we're under attack? We stand up, we fight back. What do we do when we're under attack? We stand up. We fight back. Thank you.